what I like to hear. So I want to start off with something a little serious. And I put a lot of time and thought into when I wanted to do this. And I thought, what better than today and in front of you guys? But I have here in front of me, it's my birth certificate. Certainly not taken from an image on Google and printed on my Hewlett-Packard at home. No, this is legit. You'll see I was born in, where was I born? Hold on a second here. I don't even know who this person is. Seriously. Oh, apparently I was born in the state of Montana. I was born in the state of Montana because I remember being there. That's right. I remember when it happened. By the way, did you catch that? When he said that? I know he was joking, but think about that for just a second. He remembers that? Well, that would explain a lot. That screwed me up. I know that's for sure. I'm glad Christina Cruz got a kick out of that one. Look, I wanted to spend some time talking about what we're dealing with here in Tucson today. We've had some events that took place this week, and it's one of those moments, and unfortunately we get them a lot here in town, but it's one of those moments where you see it, where you hear about it, and then you see it, and then you go, I can't believe what I heard, and I can't believe what I just saw. You know, the progression of my cell phone going off with texts saying, do you have any idea what's going on at the TUSD board meeting, to the phone call and hearing this stuff in the background, to then seeing this video later on and asking myself, have we just gone off the deep end? Has it just gotten to that point where the mob mentality suddenly now rules the day? It was absolutely unbelievable. You know what the proper punishment for those little punk thugs and kids should be? Grab those chains and those padlocks and lock them to this American flag and let them stare at it for a week. Richard Elias, Isabel Garcia, Judy Burns, Adelita Grijalva, blights on our community. I can't believe that these individuals are in charge of anything or are elected to hold any seat whatsoever. I cannot relate to that mentality. I mean, to have such a sad, pathetic little existence and to use the youth here in Tucson to push your little Marxist, socialist, Aslan agenda is nothing short of absolutely disgusting. I'm sickened by it. Yeah, well, and that's what I want to get to. Somebody says, so are we. You know, I was really, really worried when they got their way, because unfortunately that was a victory for them. That's what was so frustrating about it. And we can argue about, you know, whether or not TPD should have run in and whether or not they should have hauled those kids off in handcuffs, but the bottom line was they should have never, ever allowed them to cancel that meeting through that event. And after that happened, I got really, really worried. I got really concerned because I was thinking to myself, if we as a community, you know, don't step up to this kind of action and behavior, then what are we? Right? I mean, seriously, if we don't step up and say that's just wrong, then we're allowing the mob to rule. We're allowing that kind of behavior to dictate how things are getting done. And the problem is that people in this town for far, far too long have sat back and allowed that to happen and haven't stood up and said, you're wrong. That's wrong. Now, I was incredibly pleased to see that over the course of a day or so, we do things slow here in town. Rio Nuevo, I'm still waiting for that to pan out, but we do things slow here in town. I was pleased to see that, thankfully, the tide began to turn. You began to see that the media, even that rag of a newspaper, even stepped up and said, yeah, guys, you really kind of stepped in it. I mean, you know it's bad if Bobby Joel Buell and the crack editorial staff are going, oh, that was not a good idea. You know that it's bad. You know, and John Petticone eventually, once he realized it wasn't going to calm down, decided to step up and call it an unlawful act, and hopefully there'll be charges that are drawn up on the individuals involved. But thankfully, the community did step up and say that's wrong. But it can't stop there, okay? It simply cannot stop there. It's not enough. It has to happen every single time. It has to happen every time. I was really, ever since November and after the November election, you know, you go through the holidays, and you get through the lull, and you kind of get back into politic mode, and you kind of start getting involved, but we're not really in the middle of an election season, so everyone's kind of just doing their thing, and we've got the council races and the mayor races, but it's a bit of a lull period right now. We need to take advantage of that lull period in our community. I know how much effort you guys put out there when we're in the middle of an election season. I know you guys do. The fact that you're here today is an example of that. But right now in our community, we need to make sure that every opportunity that we have to call out the stupid, to call out the wrong, that we take advantage of it. We have to do that if we're going to continue to try to push to change what's happening in our town, because it all starts right here. You know, the problem is we need to make sure that everybody who's not here today, that's not a part of this, but might feel the same way that you and I do, but they're not involved in the political process, we need to make sure that they're hearing from you and know that there are like voices out there that care about this community, care about the city, and want to do something about it. Andrew Breitbart's going to be taking the stage here in a little bit, and I had just a fantastic time talking with him on Friday's show. And we got into this whole idea of the media driving the narrative. And this is what I'm talking about. You've got to make sure that you continue to stay tapped into your news, to your websites, to your Facebook, to your Twitter. You've got to get your voices out there. When you see something that isn't right and you want to call it out, you got to call the news channels. You got to go online and leave the comments online. You've got to let everybody else in the community that's not as involved as you are know that we are here. We care about the city just like they do. Because if we don't get everybody involved, we're not going to get anywhere. And that's how we got here. It was a slow, methodical process of stupid that got us where we're here today. It doesn't happen overnight. I'm so encouraged coming here once again to the Tucson Tea Party. I'm so encouraged by what these guys have done with the Tucson Tea Party, this organization, and events like this. And I'm so encouraged to see you guys here today once again. You know, we all made a choice. We all made a choice for whatever reason, whether it was job, whether it was family, to be here in Tucson, to live here. And for love it or hate it, this is our home. Okay, and just like we take care of our home within our walls, within the boundaries of our estate, we got to take care of our home as a city as well. You and I can make the difference. We're slowly making the difference. But you got to stand up, you got to stay active, and you have to make sure that when you see a wrong, you step up and you say, that's wrong, this is right, knock it off. I want to mention as well that as we get into the next campaign season, we're already in the swing of things now. And a quick aside, you've got to go out and help those individuals that are running for city council seats and for the mayor's seat, okay? Steve Kozaczyk has got his hands full with those buffoons, okay? He does. The mayor race, it should be a cakewalk, but the guys need your support. They need you to go out there and help them. We get a few more voices in that city council, we can stop all of this buffoonery. We can stop wasting time on bike racks. Hopefully we can stop wasting time on modern streetcars. But we need other voices that are going to step up and are going to be speaking for you, but it's going to require your effort. That's my sidebar. Let me get back to what I was going to say. As we get into the next campaign season, and we're already seeing it, you're seeing the different organizations, the different groups mobilizing, getting their people together, sending out their mailers. And I talked to the Republican GOP group about this one of the last times I had a chance to go and speak with them. I know a lot of people get hung up on individual issues, okay? And that's okay, all right? I know there's a lot of different wedge issues, little things here or there that you may not agree with somebody else, and it turns you off to a certain group, or it turns you on to another group, and everybody keeps talking about this division, right? We hear it all the time. You know, divided amongst the GOP. I love Jan Brewer, I recall Jan Brewer, and all this stuff, okay? I'm here to tell you today, that's fine. I'll tell you why. That's fine. As long as we're all fighting for one common goal, okay? It's one common goal. It's really, really simple, and I think it gets lost in the middle of all of the bickering and the infighting on individual issues. We should all be after one goal, and that is to make sure that we get as many bodies as humanly possible out to vote on Election Day.
Only if they vote the right
Think
way.
about it for a second, okay? Regardless if the person next to you doesn't agree with you on a certain issue or you don't agree with them, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, when you walk into that booth, or now in Tucson, when you walk to your mailbox apparently, when you walk into that booth, it's just you. And the choices that you're going to make for the changes that you want to see. And everything else falls away. So we can have as many different groups fighting as many different battles as we want, as long as we're all fighting for that one common goal to make sure that we get as many people out to vote on that day so we can turn the tide, because we can turn the tide. Voter turnout is ridiculous. It blows my mind. I don't understand, how is it if you're registered to vote, you don't get out there and do it? I don't get that. I can't understand that. Now, some people shouldn't vote, but that's besides the point. But if you're registered to vote, why would you not exercise that right? It's the only chance you got. Unless you plan on chaining yourself to something, it's the only chance you got. And even then, you're just going to delay it, right? So make sure that when you're out and you're pushing what you believe in, that ultimately you end that conversation every single time with, make sure you get a friend out to vote. Make sure you get a friend out to vote. That is how we're going to change the tide. We're outgunned. We're outnumbered by stupid here in Tucson. 2-1. How crazy is that? Seriously. 2-1, right? But you can counter that. If you get everybody out to vote who's registered for the non-stupid team, you win. It's a numbers game. It isn't that difficult. So just, again, as we head into the next campaign season, as you're talking with your buddies and you're disagreeing with them, and you're hearing that talk going on of, well, it's just, we're all so divided, we're all so split, it's all okay, as long as we all get out to vote. I want to thank everybody so much for the support you've given to my show and to the radio station as well. As you guys know, we're celebrating our 4-year anniversary, and it means a lot to me, and it means a lot to be a part of the group here. Trent and Jennifer, these guys are dynamos. And, you know, we all go through those tough times together in our own little ways, as she was describing. And I know what it feels like. I know what it feels like when people are calling you out. I know what it feels like when they're calling you names. It doesn't matter. What matters is what's in here, right? What matters is what's right here. What matters is when you go home and you see your family and how they think of you. Because you know in your heart that you're right. You know in your heart you're not the names that are being called. Just brush it right off. But it doesn't make those harder times easier, okay? That's real unity. That's real faith. That's real love. Don't ever let it get you down. Guys, thanks so much for having me here today. I appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day. Andrew Breitbart's coming up. Say it loud when you say freedom, all right? Thanks, guys.